Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Good morning and good afternoon for people joining from different locations. We are so excited to be here with you on the very first session of BESA program. And I really appreciate you taking time early morning, Saturday, or maybe late afternoon in the Saturday and joining us. And hopefully you would enjoy the session. Just as we are starting, I just wanted to know from people that from which part of the world you are joining. I could see a lot of comments coming up. So if you could let us know that, hey, what, which location you are joining from, so that we would know that, hey, who all is supporting us. People from London, India, Sydney, Australia. Wow, that's nice. Bangalore. And basically, I'm building up my list to go to places like which all places I have to be there. So one which is interesting for me here is Tokyo. I haven't been there. Dubai, I lived there. Canada, I've been. Ukraine. I haven't been there, but I want to. Lots of people, UK, East Midlands, Poland, India, Bangalore, Germany, Ukraine, Nigeria, Philippines, Kuala Lumpur, Dubai. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you would be enjoying the session. Let me quickly get started here. I not waste your time so that you could focus more on the content and more learn on the stuff. I'll quickly talk about what this program is, and I'll introduce my team also, who is supporting me behind the scene and very actively participating in all the things. And you probably know some of them, but we will quickly get started and discuss about what this program is, and then we'll keep moving forward. So the concept of this program is what we call is BESA is about helping people to become a solution architect. So I'll talk about what this program is and how it works. We have put all the information into the FAQ pages, and that would help you to understand how this program would unfold and what components would be discussed. There was a question, will this be recorded? Answer is yes, we are recording it. It would be live on Twitch for 1 week, and then it would be available on YouTube. So you do not have to be present every time, but we encourage it. So if you miss it, you should be able to get things rolling into the YouTube channel and see these things here. Shouldn't be a problem at all. So let's go ahead and see what this program is. So probably everyone has seen this website. I'll quickly bring it up again here so that we know what we are talking about here. So this website is where we maintain some basics information about the program, why we are looking for prerequisite, like what we are expecting you to do. We expect that you have some basic IT knowledge. That is good enough. And if you feel that, hey, I'm not sure whether I should join, I would suggest join one or two session, see how technically we go deep into, and see if you can cope up with that or not, or let us know the feedback and we can see a different way to help you out. But attend at least one or two session before calling it off like, hey, it is not my thing. So we would encourage everyone to stick to us for 1 or 2 week at least and see how it goes. Probably it will develop interest, it will give you some ideas, and then you can take it forward. Who we are, so that is a good point. We are group of Amazonians. We work for Amazon, but this program we are running in a personal capacity, so it is not affiliated by AWS. And I'll quickly introduce my team with wonderful people who are helping all of us in getting most of this. So give me a minute, I'll add all of them into this particular session. So we have Bijit, who should be joining on a camera in a minute. Then we have Jamila, we have James here, and obviously Prasad here. So currently we are five here to help you out. But yeah, obviously there are more people behind the scene helping us with the post production, helping with designing of the content, testing that. So there are a lot of people who are putting effort, and with a single point agenda that we want to help as many people as we can, so that you could bridge the gap of knowledge or maybe behavioral skill and become successful into your solution architecting journey. And it's not just solution architecting. I would say that we are focusing on the technical and behavioral part, which can help you in any of the roles. So hopefully everyone would get benefit from it. Okay, I'll let everyone introduce themselves. Let me start with me. Okay, so my name is Ashish and I am a technical trainer based in London office of AWS. Been with AWS from last 4.5 years, and I've done a lot of technical training, and delivering technical training is my passion. I want to ensure that people understand technology in the easiest possible form, and you would see that once we go with the session. So that is about me. I'll talk more about some of the other resources which can help you. But let's go ahead with Jamila. Jamila, if you could introduce yourself so that people know about you.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ashish. Thank you, everyone, for joining our BESA program and the first session from all around the world. We're super excited to have you all here, and we hope you will benefit from the program as much as possible. I'm Jamila. I'm a solutions architect at AWS. I joined AWS 2 years and a little bit of, like we say in internally, 2 years, 10 days ago. So I work. I work across. I worked across different industries, different teams. So I'm here to share my experience. I know how I can support you to become a solutions architect or to land a job in big tech or any other companies that where your soft skills and technical skills will be needed. Cool. Thank you. Handing over to Prasad.
Hello everyone, Prasad Rao. I have been with AWS for around 3.5 years now, and my passion has been mentoring a lot of people. In breaking that barrier of getting into the cloud. Whether you are starting your career or whether you're an experienced person, like it comes from my own journey. I started my career as a .NET developer and have been working on .NET developer applications, but never dwelled into cloud. Till the time I delved into cloud, I always thought it's very difficult. But once I started, getting into it, I felt, cloud makes things easy. So that's how the whole mentoring journey started for everyone. From day job perspective, I'm a principal solutions architect here at AWS, mainly focusing on Microsoft workload. So in a unique position, helping customers migrate and modernize their Microsoft workloads onto AWS. And welcome all. I am sure we all will be having great time for the next 12 weeks, and hopefully all of us will be learning from each other, and it will help us to up-level our career.
Thank you.
Handing over to James.
Thank you, Prasad, and good morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world, all over the world, it seems, which is awesome, wherever you're joining from. I'm James Eastham. I'm what's called a senior cloud architect at AWS. So I actually work in the professional services part of AWS, which is slightly different to where Prasad and Jamila are. So I get a bit more hands-on actually building things for customers. Outside of my day job, my big area of interest is serverless and building things with serverless, particularly with .NET. So I do a lot of work with Prasad around the Microsoft workloads. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this next 12 weeks and getting to know you all and seeing how you all develop over 12 weeks. So I look forward to it. Any questions that come up, drop them in the chat at all times. There's 4 of us here today to help Ashish and assist Ashish. So anything that comes up at all, please ask us. And Abhijit, over to you.
Thank you, James. Good morning, good afternoon, all. I also work with AWS Professional Services. I'm part of AWS little more than 1 year, and I work as a engagement manager. I primarily work with our external customer to help them for their cloud migration and modernization journey, and typically look after project delivery management. And absolutely thrilled to be part of this BESA moment. So I am going to be part of the BESA team, and I'm also going to be the participant since I'm also preparing for my cloud certification as well. So yeah, really great to be here. And I'm handing it over back to Ashish.
Thank you. Thanks, Abhijit. Abhijit, you should plan for the solution architect professional, not cloud architect, not the one initial one. Come on. Go ahead, Prasad.
Same here, actually. Like my cloud professional one got expired is going to get expired this year. So I need to sometime this year I need to renew it, and I love hearing you and the sessions that you give.
I feel honored to be with you all, and we hope that people would learn from it. And one suggestion from our side is that if you feel any feedback can improve this whole session, feel free to give it. Don't be shy. We are very receptive to feedback, and we want to improve it and to make sure that you get the best out of the time you are spending on the Saturday, and we want to see the efforts we are putting to materialize and you get successful. That is our biggest reward. So feel free to provide as many suggestions as you have. We don't promise that we may be implementing everything, but yes, we will try our best, or at least give you a rationale that hey, why this is may not be possible or may be possible, and we may dwell on that idea and come up with more suggestions and more ways to help you out. So it's one channel we are trying to build. We are trying to build a platform where people would be able to help each other, and then maybe you got a better job opportunity somewhere, or you know somebody's hiring, so put that into the LinkedIn group, make it live. Don't put like jokes kind of a thing, because there are a lot of things like that on internet already, but things which can help people in learning something or advancing their career, please put them onto LinkedIn group. Let's build a community and let's help out each other so that we can all get benefited from it. All right, thank you. Now I'll go back to my slide deck so that everyone knows that what we are going to discuss here, and then we will come back. So thanks everyone for introducing yourself. And now I would go ahead and talk about that what else we are trying to expect here now. So you talked about what, we talked about who, and then the question comes that why we are doing it. We do not have any hidden agenda here. Our intention is purely to help people. We in our journey got helped by a lot of people, like hey, somebody has written a blog, we read it and we understood things. Somebody has posted a YouTube video, we learned from it, and we are trying to return the favor. So no hidden agenda. We are passionate about mentoring and we want to see a lot of people being successful. That's why we are doing it. We would do the live sessions every Saturday 9 a.m. GMT, and some tools which can help you to get the most out of the session will be live sessions will be on Twitch like you are right now. Then recorded videos will be on YouTube, so you should be able to see it again if the need be and revisit it. It may take a little time. In a week's time we will publish it on YouTube. And if we talk about any resources, like we give you a link or we share a PowerPoint or we share a link for the lab, we will put them into a resources page onto the BESA website. And LinkedIn would be our communication medium. We don't want to spam people with lots of email, so that's what we are trying to use the LinkedIn as a mechanism, basic mechanism. If you are involved, you could look at the message, follow up, comment on it, and then can move forward. Now, how we will do this thing? We would be doing this thing in two stages. Stage 1 to 8 is purely on technical track, and networking track, and then hands-on. So this will be more covering your technical ground. And then on the stage 2, which is 4 weeks, we will talk about behavioral track. Like, hey, yes, we now know technical, how to prepare for interview. What are the different methods to enhance your learning? How to build your network? How to be successful in your career journey? So that would be coming up into the 4 weeks, and we will plan to have some guests who would share their journey, so telling you how they got successful, and probably you could also lean back on their experience to get started with this. There is no cost for this program itself, but if you experiment something in your AWS account, please be aware that there may be cost and we can't help you there. So please be little disciplined enough in removing the resources once you are done with testing or verification of things. So we will talk more on that as we move forward. So this is basic information. Hopefully everyone is following along. And some disclaimer, it's always good to have disclaimer so that expectations are right. This is not a job guarantee program. We will try to help you out. If there is a position available in AWS once hiring freeze opens, we would be happy to refer you, but it is not a job guarantee program. This is not an official AWS program. We are running it on a voluntary basis. We are running it on a best effort basis. Whatever we share, whatever we talk, represent us as individual, not our company as an employer. In case we share something and let's say there is a conflicting information, so best resource would be to check official documentation. It would always have the latest updated information. So in case you find conflicting information, I said X and that is reference is Y, probably you should look for official documentation. And we encourage you to talk to us on LinkedIn if you have any questions, but this program is being run on a best effort basis, so we will try to respond as much as we can. In case we forgot to respond to you or it got lost somewhere, just give it another nudge, send us another message, and we will be happy to help you out again. Shouldn't be a problem. But don't feel that, hey, he is not responded, let me not talk to him. Probably we got busy, and that's why if we are having some issues, that's why we may not have responded. But our intention is to help as many people as we can. Thank you for so much for encouraging word, everyone. Let's keep going and we will talk about what this agenda would look like. So first, we will talk about technical track. which will be 45 minutes. We already steal 15 minutes from that. We will take a short break after that, and then we'll go to networking track, where we'll talk about very basic stuff, because most of the time people struggle with networking. Like, you come from development background, or you come from, let's say, architecting background, but networking may not be a forte. So we will focus on that. And then last 30 minutes, we'll focus on some practical tips to help you get started and how it will keep moving forward. So let's move forward. Yeah, I got specs. Yes, I agree. From last session, I didn't had that, so I got my specs, and it's hopefully will be staying that with me for a long time. But yeah, I have now specs to wear to give me a better vision. All right, so I'll quickly start, and probably for some of you, it may be very basic stuff. We are repeating the basic concept to bring everyone on the same stage. Let's go ahead and talk about what is cloud computing. Now, what I'm going to share on screen is a picture. Hopefully, everyone can see the picture. Can anyone tell me in the chat what this picture is all about? I can guarantee you this is not a coffee machine. This is not a espresso machine which will give you a hot coffee in the morning. Any guess here, any thoughts what this machine would be representing? Sagar is saying it is server, could be. Let's see what others people think of. A power plant, turbine. Yes, Sachin, it makes sense. If power plant, yes, a turbine. Data center. Nivedita, I like that. And then turbine, Pavan, and hydropower plant. Yes, Jay, it makes sense. And then yes, this is supercomputer. Yeah, we want to make this supercomputer. And this is a huge thing. If you see here, there's a person standing, and you could realize the scale of it. And if you guess that it is a power plant, yes, it is a power plant. Now, why I'm discussing power plant into cloud training, let me explain that. So 100 years ago, not very, very far from the reality, everyone who wanted electricity, they had to build this kind of plant. They have to build and maintain their own power station. Imagine it. Now you may be thinking, hey, electricity is available with just a push of a button. Why we need a plant like this? So this was not a way of delivering electricity 100 years ago. So anyone, any town, any manufacturing unit, they wanted to have electricity, they have to maintain then build this plant. And obviously it was a challenging stuff. Challenging stuff was that it was the initial cost involved. There is a huge money to be paid to get this plant commissioned. And then second, there would be a lot of ongoing maintenance because it is a plant. There would be machinery, there would be wear and tear, manpower to be paid, and that would be a long commitment you are making. And that was a deterrence for a lot of people to go and get electricity. But if I look at today, how we evolved, we just press a button now. And that button could be to light a small bulb, or it could be light the whole industry, or maybe the whole city. It doesn't matter. Everything is available at push of a button. And the best part is we pay as you go. We do not pay any upfront money. If 1 month, because of, let's say, in Europe, the uh, cold is there and we need more heating in the house, my electricity bill would be higher. But in the summer, my electricity bill would be lesser. That depends, because purely it is a pay as you use model. So how this compare to cloud? Because what we are showing here, this is a utility based pricing. You are consuming a utility, a electricity or a water supply that is being consumed as a electricity, as a utility. And the same thing applies into cloud also. Let's do a compare. Somewhere somebody is generating electricity. The method they use will depend. Maybe they are using hydropower, maybe they are using nuclear power, solar power, or whatever method they feel comfortable with, or whatever is economical, they would generate electricity. Once the generation is happened, that generation distribution has to start. Once your electricity is available, it may be in a remote part of the world, and then it has to be distributed. So they have to set up these kind of grid sections. And once this grid is ready, then it reaches to consumer and consumption can start now. That's how your electricity model works. Cloud is no different. In cloud, somebody has created resources. It could be a load balancer. It could be a S3 bucket. It could be a storage system. It could be a elastic compute. Could be anything. So different type of resources are available in cloud, and the cloud provider has created an infrastructure which would allow you to use all these things. And afterward, through internet, which becomes a distribution medium, we are able to distribute all these content or the resources to the user of our choice. So that is how they are comparing that there is a generation happening, there is a distribution happening, and then users start using these services. So that is a very basic stuff, how our cloud platform has evolved and how it is helping us to do a pay as you go pricing. All right. If you have any questions, keep on sending them into chat. Our team is looking into the questions and we would be happy to respond as many as we can. Right. Now, so cloud is there, and let's now focus on AWS so that you would have a little bit more idea on what AWS is and how it started. So AWS is providing you a cloud platform. I would use a word here platform because this is a platform on which you could start building. So there are some basic tools available, and then based on your requirement, you can keep on adding more components. So it's a very, very extensible platform and very robust platform you could use it. This was made publicly available in 2006. It has global presence, working from all over the world, different location, 200 plus services offered. We will talk about some of them. And the good thing is utility pricing. If I use a service for a few hours or few minutes, I only pay for that much. I do not have to keep on paying for high time for higher time. So this is a utility based pricing, and they give you a free tier to get started, which we Prasad would talk a little bit more, so that you can start building and practicing things on your environment. So that should not be a problem at all. So that is how things would be working. So that is what AWS is. Now, what AWS platform is made up of, it is made up of different layers. Now, this may be a little different definition from the official ones, but for me to understand things, I prefer to see things into layer. So what we are seeing here, we have a global infrastructure at the back. This is the backbone of everything in AWS. I'll talk about these things: region, availability zone, edge location. And on top of that, there are foundation services. So three foundation services: compute, networking, and storage. These are very common thing which you would need for anything. So let's say you want to host an application. Your application would be processing some code or accepting user logging or a social media, whatever. You would always need compute, which will allow you to do processing. You need to process the data. Processing could be processing the image people upload, or processing the login request which is coming up, or processing the packet they are sending to us. So that is your compute resource. Then comes networking. Obviously, your app need to be accessible by multiple people, or maybe behind the scene it will be talking to some other systems for logging or maintenance or for update. So we need networking to be sorted out, and their app would obviously be storing some data so that a user can access the data again. So these three are very fundamental things for whatever you do, whatever application you could think of. There would be a compute part, there would be a networking component, and there would be a storage component. So that is exactly what we will be discussing into the foundation services. And once we have a better understanding on these foundation services, we would then start talking about different platforms like databases, analytic services, management services, and deployment services on top of it. So my focus today would be to talk about this global infrastructure and let you understand the basics of region, availability zone, and edge location. All right. I hope everyone is following along. If there are any questions, any doubts, any confusions, put them into chat. I'm also monitoring the chat, and if some questions require me to explain it, I would be happy to explain it. Okay. Now, what is this global infrastructure is made up of? Let's go ahead and see this thing. So this one is available in this slide. Okay. Now, what we will be doing, we will be pushing this slide on to the GitHub link. So you would have access to this slide, no problem at all on that. Every content would be made available to you in a PDF format so that you could reference that again if the need be. So what AWS has done, depending on the customer need, depending on different criteria, AWS has set up something called a global infrastructure. And if you want to look at it, here is a link I am trying to open into the console, which probably everyone can see that. This one is my global infrastructure. So AWS global infrastructure is made up of 31 regions, 91 availability zone, 410 point of presence. So this is the places all over the world where AWS has physical presence, and from there they deliver their services. So we'll see how this delivery of service actually happens. But the baseline is they have placed data centers all over the world and connected them together so that delivery of the content, delivery of information, delivery of application can happen in a efficient fashion. So that is a global infrastructure. If you want like a little more 3D view of this data, then here is a website where you can see these things into little bit more interactive fashion. This is your website where globe is present, and then you can see things like in this fashion. So interesting place where you could go and check some of the basic stuff of global infrastructure here. So this is a global infrastructure. If you see all these locations where resources are available, and you can start building your application easily. So if I talk about Europe here, then in Europe, these are all the places like Stockholm, Frankfurt, Paris, London, Ireland, which are treated as a region. These links will be made available to you in the slide, so don't worry, you would have access to all these resources as we speak. So it is currently made up of 99 availability zone and 31 geographical region. So let's see what this geographical region is and what is happening inside them, how they are being hosted. This is what these regions are, and I would share these links to you. So let's see what is happening behind the scene on that. Behind the scene, everything is a region, right? So behind the scene, everything is in data center, and data center would be made up of server racks. So let's say one server rack. Obviously, it may not be sufficient enough for holding lot of data. So what you would be doing, we would be putting these server racks into a entity called data center. So data center would be your physical locations where a lot of servers are hosted, and through these servers we deliver the content or resources or application. And in that data center, it's not only the server which are doing processing, but additional resources associated with that, like you would need internet connectivity, you would need routing services, you would need load balancing services, storage services. So all of these things are put together into a data center, and a data center may have up to 50 to 80,000 servers in it. Why we are not creating a huge data center? Because let's say you created a huge data center, and in that data center you had, let's say, 200K servers. And if there was a problem with this, 200K servers would be affected, users data would be affected. So better is to keep blast radius small, and let's go ahead and instead of putting everything into one single place, let's go ahead and put 75K server here, maybe 75K server here, and maybe 50K server here. Just giving an example. So we are trying to reduce the impact something may have because of a single point of failure. So this is what a data center is. Now, data center are hidden in the plain sight. What I mean by that, that we do not officially publish any location that, hey, this is building number 12, or this is the address where you will find a data center. So we keep this information internal. Even employees, me, Jamila, Prasad, Abhijit, James, we may never know where exactly these data centers are physically running. So they are into undisclosed location and unmarked building where these services are hosted. Now, one data center may not be sufficient enough to handle a lot of data. So what we would do, we would combine these two on a high-speed redundant network, and that will be called a availability zone. So the first technical term you have to remember is called availability zone, or AZ for short, which is a group of data center. And once you start working with AWS, probably you would have access to availability zone for some services, and you would never see a data center behind the scene. You would always interact with a availability zone as the basic minimum block to get started. Right. So this is my availability zone, which is a group of data center. It may have one data center or more than one, but it is giving you the required resources, and they are all highly connected on a redundant network. Right. Now, these availability zones are further grouped together. So let's say we have a region, let's say called London. And in London, there is a availability zone A, availability zone B, availability zone C, which in turn is made up of multiple data center inside. And these three availability zones are combined together, and that is called a region. So region is the entity in which you would start hosting your application. If you go to AWS console and if you access some of the resources, it will all show up into a region. So region is the component in which you start building your application, and a region would be made up of multiple availability zone behind the scene. And you could go here, like if I go to this picture again, if I take here my mouse, Spain launched in 2022, availability zones are 3. If I go here, Osaka 21, and availability zones are 3. And similarly, you could get information about every location, like Northern Virginia, it has 6 availability zones inside it. So that's how we have hosted resources, hosted the infrastructure on which you could go ahead and build your own application if the need be. I hope everyone is following along. If there are any questions, let us know and we would be happy to answer. Apart from building this data center, what AWS did? AWS has hosted and connected all these. What are the locals and other zones? I'll talk about that, Prashant. Good question. I'll explain that in a minute. So, global infrastructure network, as we see here, this is the network which is a backbone of connectivity. So what we are seeing here, all these locations, we don't want to just rely on public internet. So what would happen? We have connected all of these on a redundant network, ensuring that when you are accessing the services, you get the best priority and you get the best performance for your application data. So all these are put together onto a global fully redundant 100 GB network, and AWS maintains this network. This ensures that we are able to give you the best performance, and we have all the connectivity sorted on that. So we would be talking more on that as we move forward. So that is what a region is made up of. Now, when you want to access this region, let's see, talk about what this region selection criteria is, and then I'll come back to this edge location also. So if you have to get started and say, okay, in AWS console, I would build an application, I have to start by selecting which region I would get into. So what should be your criteria? Let's say you are looking to buy a house. You would think that what is my criteria? Do I need to be near to my office? Do I need to be near a city center? Or do I need to be away from city center? I should have some criteria before I go ahead and say I want to buy this house. So same way, if you are creating a application, you have to decide that what should be the region where you would start building your location or application. And when I say region, this is a management console, which is an interface by which you would access AWS services graphically. And here are the list of regions. See this thing? So these regions are available and I can start building in most of them. Shouldn't be a problem depending on some factors. So my question to you is, what factors you would consider when you want to build your application? What do you mean by redundant? Physical cable connectivity? Yes, that is true. So redundancy is in form of physical connectivity, which is multiple cables connecting those locations. It is not one single cable. Yes. Okay, good. Price, compliance requirement, target customer location. Exactly. I agree on that. Pricing information. Yes, I agree on that. Many regulatory customer proximity location nearest to your location, data storage. Exactly. So you may have to follow some compliance requirement. Maybe you are storing data of, let's say, customers in Europe. So there is a GDPR requirement which may say that this data can be processed only within European region, not beyond it. So you have to go ahead and follow that compliance. Like, let's say, if you have heard about MasterCard in India, right? MasterCard had some issues with operating in India because their servers were hosted outside, and Indian government has asked them to either bring those data back to India or stop doing functioning or stop being business here. So those type of legal requirement will always come into picture, and that's why AWS has posted or created these locations all over the world so that you could follow the regulatory requirement on that. So that is a compliance thing. Second, so compliance, if you want to check, these links will be available. Here are the different programs we follow as a company, and that would be giving you a peace of mind that okay, somebody has audited us and has given us a rating that yes, we follow the standards set by different governing bodies. Like in America, standards would be different. Some standards are global, like if I'm talking about PCI compliances, SOX compliance, these are global standard, but in every region there may be some specific requirement. Like Germany has C5 as a requirement, Asia Pacific there is a security standard in Australia, then there may be something on Japan and Singapore. So every country may have their own specific compliance, and AWS goes through different auditing process and gets the infrastructure and application verified for those requirements. So those compliance thing will be first factor. Second thing you would be referring is proximity. You need to ensure that you keep your data near to your user as much as possible so they get the best performance. And you could check that through a service called third party tool called Cloud Ping. And if you do the ping here, it would tell you that what is your latency to different AWS endpoint. So I'm based in London, and that's why I am having less latency for London region, and then probably better would be to host in Ireland or into Paris. So that is another aspect of hosting your application, that is your proximity. Third factor is cost, right? We do not have the same flat cost everywhere. So what would happen, depending on the cost of infrastructure which we have, like the manpower cost, the taxation, the real estate cost, we would have services with different cost settings. And I'm using a tool here which is called Simple Monthly Calculator. I am going to a service called Amazon S3 in which I keep some data, and let's see in Northern Virginia what would be my price. So for 10,000 GB in Northern Virginia, my cost is going to be coming out to $29.88. Let me add more location and see how the cost may be different. Let's say Asia Pacific, Mumbai, 10,000 GB data. I have hosted that data there. Then I select something, let's say into Europe, let's say London, and I hosted 10,000 GB data there. And then I say, okay, I would be looking for Cape Town to host my 10,000 GB data. So same look data 10,000 GB, but if you see pricing is different. In Northern Virginia $230, Africa 274, then Mumbai 250, London $240. So this can be different. So maybe you could decide that okay, I want to keep my data near to my customer, so I would keep my prod systems, production systems near to users where they would access it, but I would keep my dev and QA environment into the location where it is cheaper to keep these services running. Probably still you have to consider the compliance, because if not, then you may still have to host everything into one location. But if there is a flexibility, you may want to look for ways to keep your cost low by hosting maybe your dev QA, or maybe your backup environment, or maybe your disaster recovery environment into the location which are cheaper, right? So that is another factor you may consider. Now, if you have observed this particular screen, you may have seen that cost in Northern Virginia is much cheaper, right? My question to you is why cost in Northern Virginia is cheaper? Why we have less price to pay for the same amount of data into Northern Virginia? What is the lucrative thing about Northern Virginia? Why the cost is low? Anyone, any suggestions, any thoughts here that why the cost is low in Northern Virginia? And with guinea pig for AWS, it is it is Texas may be more AZ, high usage, lots of data center in AZ, and yes, you are right. Yes, cheaper hardware, probably yes, but I would say if you go back to the table which I was showing here in global infrastructure, you would find that Northern Virginia, which is here, is the place where we have 6 availability zone. So there are a huge number of resources available, purely supply and demand based principle. So if you have a lot of data, a lot of resources available, we can keep the cost low, and that is what your availability zone 6 is helping us. So because of that much of resource availability, we are able to keep the cost low. But that was not my actual question. My actual question was Like now I'm rephrasing it. Why AWS hosted these 6 availabilities in Northern Virginia, not into here into GovCloud, now not into Northern California, not into Sao Paulo, and not into UAE or maybe into Sydney? What was that? What is wavelength zone? We will talk about that, Babita. Give me some time. I'll come back to that. Government locations. Uh, Jayant, maybe similar. Government cold. I'll give you a technical reason behind it. Now, let me see if I can get that thing displayed to you. It is a default region, but yes, I agree, Ivan, but why it is default region? Technical thing. See this. What you are seeing here is your submarine cable which carry your internet traffic. So if you look at this map, these cables are all basically coming from Northern Virginia and connecting Europe. So if you host your applications here, you would have better connectivity for your US based customers, no problem at all. And then European customer would also get better connectivity because these are like direct links coming up. You are not hopping from one link to another link. So that is the cable which are connecting your intercontinent, which are coming continents with internet traffic. And that becomes like a very interesting point for Northern Virginia to host the application and deliver it to the as much user as you can with a lower cost because there are ample resources. So that's why Northern Virginia is guinea pig for AWS. New services almost get started there, and then it can be hosted into different platform, and then we can keep on moving forward like that. So hopefully this thing is clear. Why Northern Virginia? Now, last thing here you may have to think about is service availability. Not every service may be available in all the places. We want to make services available in different places, but let me quickly give you an example here that how I could check it. So I am into AWS console. Let's say I go to a service here called VPC, and don't worry if you do not understand VPC, we'll talk about that. So if I go to VPC here, I can see all the regions here, like it is Oregon, and then maybe other regions are also displayed here. Shouldn't be a problem at all, right? Give it few seconds here. So if you see, all my regions will be displayed here where I should be able to host a VPC as a service. See this, all the regions are available, right? These 10 which I have intentionally disabled, that's fine, but otherwise everything is available. But let's say if I go to services like Amazon Connect, let's see what happens. So if I'm going to the service Amazon Connect, let's see if I still see all the available information or not. So we are going to here the service which is called Amazon Connect, and let's see if it is operating in Oregon. Yes, it is. But if I look here, Ohio is not highlighted, California is not there, Mumbai, Osaka is not there, Ireland is not there, Paris, Stockholm is not there. So this service is not available in these locations, and that's why if I want to use it, I have to use any of the regions which is it is supported on. So these are the 4 factors you would consider when you want to select a region, right? Hopefully this thing is clear. Let me talk about one more thing which is called edge location. Edge location are helping you to deliver your content faster. Let me give an example here. So this region here is Sydney. Let's say I hosted my application here. I have a user at this part of Australia and he or she wants to access my application. So now it looks very small thing here on the map, but it is a huge geographical region we are referencing here, which means request will go all over to Sydney, and then response will be coming from Sydney, and that may be giving a slow response to my user. What if we could have a caching location on near to my user? So my guess is probably this dot here representing Perth, and this dot here is representing Melbourne. So in this location, what we have done, we have hosted these edge location, or people just refer them as point of presence, which allows us to have some data cached and deliver it to user from there. So it would be much easier for them to get that data. So that is what we are calling as a edge location or point of presence. And if you take a political map, and check these dots, you will find that these are mostly into the location where a lot of population lives. So if there are a lot of population living there, we are ensuring that we can deliver the content as fast as can. And then not every service is available. There are some services available there like Route 53, CloudFront, Lambda, WAF, and Shield, which will give you the best performance for type of the workload you are hosting. So that is what my edge location is. Now, hopefully this thing is clear. And what I will do, I will be giving you a single summary of all the topic we are discussing. See, like this. So cloud computing, very basic, what it is, why we need it. Then we have where used it, who uses it, how much. So this information is available to you. I'll post it into the program page where you should be able to utilize. Are edge location data center? Yes, there is. So there are data centers there, but those data center are delivering some very specific service, not everything. An example I take to explain edge location is, let me go back to a blackboard and probably it will be easy for you. Blackboard, yes, this is my blackboard. So what may happen that you may have some superstore in your city. In a superstore, you will get everything. Dog food, maybe you want a bike, maybe you want to buy some electronics or a mobile phone. Everything is available in a superstore. And then you may have a corner shop near to your house. That corner shop may not have all the product, but the basic product like maybe milk, bread, maybe eggs, those will be available into a corner shop. So you could go here and get things faster. But if you want to buy in bulk, probably what you would prefer, you will prefer to go to a superstore and buy things from there. This is, you could think it is your region, and this one is your edge location where we have smaller number of services available and they are intended to deliver content faster, whereas region where everything is available, all the services, and we deliver everything from a region. You could decide, hey, I would host my application which will be purely hosted into a region, or I would have some component hosted into edge. So it is a design question. You could answer it depending on your use case. Shouldn't be a problem at all, right? I hope this thing is clear. Everyone has got an idea. All right. uh, Let me go ahead and talk about more things here. I would talk about two more component here. One is called local zones and second is called wavelength zones. I know we are a little behind the time, but hopefully everyone is learning. That's why I'll keep on continuing. So local zone and wavelength zone. So we hosted regions, right? Let's say region is into Northern Virginia. Agree? Northern Virginia is the best place to run services. But if you look at lots of location, let's say Chicago, let's say your New York. So in Chicago, there are a lot of businesses. In New York, there are a lot of businesses, right? What if we could give them services near to their location? So what we started building, we started building a subset of services available, and that subset of services is we call local zones. So local zone will basically give you compute power near to your actual physical location. So major cities where we have a lot of businesses running, that is where we started hosting local zones like Chicago, New York, then Hollywood, where a lot of processing is required. So those places is where we have hosted something called a local zone. So it is purely to cater to the need of industry in that location. Like New York, there are a lot of stock exchange information. Maybe another one we have in California, which is near to Hollywood. So there would be a lot of processing of Hollywood related stuff would be happening there. Chicago, a lot of industries operate near to Chicago, so they would get benefited. So that is a subset of services hosted in local zone and focus in to give compute power near to your user. That is your local zone, right? Hopefully this thing is clear. Let me now focus on wavelength zone and let me explain what this wavelength zone is, and then we will go ahead for a short break. Give me a minute. Let me write down wavelength zones. Sorry, I can't type and speak at the same time, but I'm trying. Wavelength zone. Now, let's say you have a mobile application. This mobile application is accessing 5G. Your backend is hosted in AWS. So what happens right now? You would be connecting to through your mobile to your service provider, your mobile service provider or mobile operator. Let me write it down like this. And that mobile operator will then connect you to AWS. And then the request will come up like this, right? Which means your application would have to go through mobile operator network, then reach to AWS, and then deliver the result. What if we could host some infrastructure component in the mobile provider network itself or their location? So AWS hosted some services here. Now we have cut down on this path. So that is my wavelength zone. This works with collaboration with different providers, and through this we are able to get services delivered to user in a much faster fashion. So maybe Verizon, maybe Vodafone, maybe AT&T, these mobile providers work with AWS, and we host a partial infrastructure in their location to give you the better performance. That is called your wavelength zone. So if you are looking for building 5G application, maybe using wavelength zone can help you in cut down on the latency and deliver faster result to your customer. That is a wavelength zone, right? So hopefully this thing is clear. Let me quickly, it is available on mobile operator. Yes, exactly. Let me quickly go here. I'll go to a service called EC2 to show you that what are options available. Now, these spatial infrastructure, which are called your local zone or wavelength zone, may not be available in all the places. So you have to be aware where it is available and where it is not. What is the difference between local zone and edge location? Edge location is more for caching. Local zone is more for compute. So databases you want to run, local zone. You want to run a web server, local zone. You want to keep a content cached for your user, it will be your CloudFront, which will be running from edge location. So edge location is more on caching, whereas local zone is more on the processing side of the things. So see this. So I am into Oregon. In Oregon, there are local zones which are in Denver, which is in Las Vegas, and then these are another one which is Lex, and then there is a Portland, PDX, another is Seattle, and see these are wavelength zone which have been hosted with the help of Verizon here, and then obviously availability zones there. So depending on which region you are, you may see, like if I'm going to Mumbai, probably there would be no local zone there. I'm not sure. Let me explain it here. Let's see if there is something like this available in Mumbai. So in Mumbai, yes, we have a local zone. See this in Kolkata. Then another is in Delhi, and then 3 availability zone which are in Mumbai. So anywhere where we'll have a resources, we would utilize it. Will it impact on the cost? See, if you are using a resource, you have to pay for it, right? So if you are looking for giving better performance and use edge location, yes, there would be a cost associated on it, and you have to pay money for that. But it depends. Again, it is your decision as an application owner or a business owner, what you want. Do you want better performance or cost, or maybe a mix between them? So you would decide based on that. Right. So this one single slide would help you to understand cloud computing. I have also created this one single slide for Amazon Web Services. So we will share these slides with you. So you would have one single page where all the basic information would be available for you to reference if the need be. All right. A wavelength zone is only for telecom. I would say anyone who wants to host a mobile application, they would benefit from edge location. All right. Good. Thank you. So I'll take a short break here so that everyone can maybe fill up their water bottle, re-energize, and then be ready for the networking track. So we will shift gears. We have talked about basics of AWS, and then I'll talk about basics of networking into the next section, and then we will keep on moving forward with the more topic, right? So let's put a 5-minute timer. Hopefully that should be sufficient, and I'll speak to you in 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon. All right. Welcome back, everyone. If you are back, type in chat what was your first programming language. If you learned any programming language, let me know what you have learned first. What was the first language where you started writing your Hello World program? C, Pascal, Wow, I like that. I started with Turbo Pascal, and that gives away your age, I would say. It means whoever has written Pascal, maybe in the same 78 or 79 born, or maybe 80, 81 born. So yeah, I started with Pascal. That was the first language I started with. Turbo Pascal, that used to be called. Basics is another one. And Prashant, you do not have any knowledge on programming. That is completely fine. I'm just trying to make a conversation here. But yeah, knowing a basic of programming would always help. Not you have to be like a hardcore programmer, but just to understand some basic code would be much easier. Visual Basic, yeah, I know that thing. Visual Basic 4.0 I started working with initially. And then Python is obviously like a it's like a evergreen kind of a stuff. Fortran, Pooja, that was my second year language. So first year I learned about Turbo Pascal, second year was Fortran, and sorry, second year was COBOL, and in final year I have learned about Pascal. Sorry, Fortran. So yeah, three languages in 3 years. All right, good. Thank you, everyone. Let's keep moving, and we will now focus on the next concept, which is on the networking side. So we will talk about some very basic networking stuff so that we would, do you guys know where they will send us the slide? This will be available on the resource page. So resource page on the BESA website is where you will get, if you see the QR code in the middle of the slide, if I'm highlighting it here, scan this QR code, that is will take you to the BESA program page, and on the left side there will be a resource section where these slides would be made available to you, so you would have everything there. Okay, good. Now the networking tracks idea is to give you basics of networking. We will today focus on very generic networking concept, and then we will enhance that networking knowledge in AWS world. But I wanted to bring everyone on the same page because people may not have that kind of networking knowledge, and that's why we are talking from the very basics here. Okay, and if you have any suggestion for topics to include, something we can do differently, let us know, and we would be happy to accommodate that. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Let's go ahead and talk about the networking track. I'll start by asking a question here. So let's say this is a old country setup. You could see a king here, and that king would obviously have a lot of subject who is ruling. Then this king wants to send some message to this subject that, hey, this year there is some issue, maybe I paid a lot of money to build my new castle again, and that's why I am going to raise more taxes, so higher taxes would be there. Now, obviously, it is old time. There was no uh, mobile or WhatsApp group or a Slack channel, so there was no way of communicating these basic things to you. So, what was King would be doing? King would have this message being sent through a communicator or a messenger. So that message would be handed over by King to this messenger. This messenger will go to the subject and will announce, hey, this time you have to pay 10% more taxes because King has built a new place for them. Right. Now, my question here is that in this analogy or in this example, who actually represents a network? Who is you would call a network is? Who is representing a network here? Messenger, road, all of them, messenger. Okay. The road, messenger, pathway is the network. Messenger, yes, that you are on, a lot of you are on right track. Messenger is not the network. Let me go ahead and give my interpretation, and obviously you could have different interpretation in this case. So King is your server. A server wants to send some message, right? So that message has to be sent by a server. So King is your server. And then you have subject. Subject are basically client who are going to receive it. So Parul, this subject would be considered as the client who are receiving the information. Server sending something, client receiving the information. The message itself is the data we want to forward. Whatever I want to share with someone, that data is my message itself, and the messenger here is the protocol who is carrying that data from a server to the destination or to my subject or client, which could be TCP IP or something else. So yes, they have different aspect of working. I agree on that. This road is what represents a network here. The path on which your protocol would travel, from which your data would flow, by which your server and client would communicate, that is your network. So you may be thinking, hey, Ashish is going to help me build roads. Could be a road like this, yes, or it could be a road like this. So depends on what is happening here. I'll explain about protocol Jaya in a minute. We'll talk about that. So idea is we want to set up a path, and on that path, like in this road, I may have a small car going, maybe a biker, maybe a cyclist, maybe a huge 40-foot container truck going on. But once we have built a path, it can be used by lots and lots of services and resources. So that's what we are trying to build. Now, if I give you my definition of what a network feels to me, I would say network is a collection of devices that can communicate together. Right. And if I give a little more generic business definition on that, I would say it is a fabric that ties business applications together. Like we are currently using network for seeing this WebEx from my home. I'm broadcasting that goes on the network to my service provider, goes to the StreamYard server, and then goes to Twitch. From Twitch, it is being distributed to your network and you are watching it. So it is all tying up all the business applications together. That is your network. Right. Now, if I go with dictionary definition, in computing, what we are referencing here is a protocol. What is the protocol? Protocol are rules determining the format and transmission of the data. Protocol tells you that how this message has to be sent. Let me again take an example so that you could relate to this protocol mechanism. Let's say you have to send a letter. Now you want to send someone letter. I am not referencing that I would go manually and physically present this letter to someone. I want to use some method of delivering this letter to someone, and that is where my protocol is. If you are in UK, you would be using Royal Mail as a service, which is our postal department in UK, who would send a letter from one place to another place. So there would be a process to follow. The process would be something like this. I have to write a letter. I have to put it into an envelope, write an address on it, put some stamp on it that will be paying to the service provider, and then I have to drop that into a letterbox. This is a Royal Mail protocol if you want to send a letter, right? There is a sequence I am following. There are some specific steps I have to follow, right? Now, I still want to deliver a letter, but what if instead of Royal Mail, I say I would use a courier company like DHL or USPS or maybe some other DHL company or other thing? What I should do in that case? Now, I still have to have my write a letter, which is my data. I may put it into envelope, which I'm putting like a layer of security on top of it. Now, they do not require, like, let's say if I'm referencing DHL, maybe they do not require me to buy a stamp, but they would say go online, buy a barcode and put that barcode on the message. And they give me facility that you can schedule a pickup. So I don't have to walk up to the post box. I would have a scheduled pickup and somebody would come up and pick up the letter, give me a information about receipt, and then I would hand over my letter. Once I have done that, my responsibility is done. Now it becomes that service provider's responsibility to get this letter from point A to point B, and they would be using different methods for that. So what I am seeing here is one type of method of communication, another type of method of communication, that is your protocol. So protocol is a way by which we package our information in such a way that it can be delivered from one network or one server to client or between client. It all depends. So that is what a protocol is. So protocol, if I go with standard definition, it is a standard of communication. You would be using packaging, addressing, payment, getting on the network. In case of Royal Mail, payment was done through a stamp you purchased. Here it was into DHL case, it was an online payment you have done. Getting package on the network, in Royal Mail you have to drop that packet, and in case of your DHL you had it collected from the home. So that is a same thing which we are seeing here. So we need to have packaging done, addressing done, payment sorted, and get that package to network. And obviously I can't say, hey, I bought the stamp and now I want my DHL to pick up. No, it won't work. So they won't interoperate. If two devices has to communicate, they would need the same type of protocol to be used with them. So that's how a protocol would work. So computers on a network must agree upon a common protocol in order to communicate. Let's go ahead and see how this protocol has come into existence. I hope everyone is following along and understanding the basics of communication. Now, in very early days, I'm talking about 1960s, 1970s, that time every manufacturer, let's say this is manufacturer X, manufacturer Y, manufacturer Z, they would develop their own networking solution. And let's say this speaks a language ABC, this speaks a language PQR, and this speaks a language, let's say STU. Obviously, this is not a way where we can communicate with each of them. And everyone was developing things on their own method. They were isolatedly being developed. There were no interoperability. There were lots of complication in communication. So somebody has to take a lead and then say, okay, we would use one common language of communication. Like I am using English language here as a communication mechanism. Is it my native language? Answer is no. But as most people use English and understand English, I am utilizing it so that I could communicate better. If I just use my own native tongue, probably some of you may understand, some of you may not. So that's why we need to agree on a common standard, and somebody has to take a lead. Open system interconnection, OSI model, that is where all the standards were made, and then we started following. So organization called ISO, standard organization, international standard organization, they developed a theoretical model. I am saying it again. It is a theoretical model which says how your services should communicate, how your networking devices should communicate, and they started calling it as a OSI model. It is a reference model, right? It is a reference which most of the service provider follow, and then they build their devices, their solution, their application, so that they can all interconnect and communicate with each other. So that is called OSI model, open system interconnection model. And this is a theoretical model. It is not put into practical action. We will talk about how practical things are implemented, but the OSI model is designed as a 7-layer model. Intention was we want to reduce complexity, we want to standardize interface, modular design so a company can focus on one layer and ensure interoperability. And this is made up of these 7 layers of communication: physical layer, data link, network, and all. And every layer is doing its own specific work so that communication can happen. And this theoretical model says that I have to send my data through application layer. It would go from this whole layered approach to physical layer, and then it will be actually transmitted to the destination device. So this is a OSI model. Now, why this is important? Lots of time when you discuss things, people would say, hey, I need a layer 3 filtering, or I need a application layer filtering. So if you see this thing, application layer is here, which is our top layer, or that is also referred as layer 7. So this is where your applications would interact with each other. They would provide access to the application. So if I'm, let's say, I'm using MS Word and I am storing my data into a remote drive. MS Word doesn't know how to access a remote network, but because this packages data and send it to another layer, they can then get these things sorted. So I drop my letter into Royal Mail mailbox, but I do not know what happens behind the scene, how they pick up, how do they sorting, how they package it again. That is not my headache. I just drop it. And same thing, application would just send information to application layer, and then the whole process would kick in, and then your data would be moved from one place to another place through a method called encapsulation and decapsulation. So we'll see that in a minute. So OSI is a theoretical model. We expect this to be a way of communication, but it is not practically implemented. We will see what is practically implemented in a minute. Any questions here? Any doubts? Any confusion so far? Now, how it works, probably most of you remember this, right? I was very scared about all these things. Capsules means I thought that it is made up of plastic, and if I swallow it, it would stuck in my throat and I'll die. So that was a fear I had. Obviously, it was not plastic, it looked like plastic. But what this was, that some drugs or some medicine which could not be put into a tablet format or maybe into a solid form, it has to be powdered form. And how I eat it, I would eat it through this capsule. Right. So if I have to take that medicine, this has been put together into a layer, and that layer would dissolve in my body, and then medical drug would then go ahead and do the work it is expected to do. So same thing happens in our communication too. This process is called encapsulation and decapsulation. Now let's consider there is a source host and there is a destination they want to talk. If they want to communicate, what would happen? Think like in the memory of this host, a theoretical model is created, and in the memory of this host, also a theoretical OSI model is created. 7 layers in the source side, 7 layer on the destination side, and now I start sending my data. So once I have my data, the data would follow the process like this. It would be sent from application layer, reach to the physical layer of this device, which is source, travel over the physical network, reach to the destination physical network, and then move upward and then reach to the destination. This is the whole process which is happening, how these things are working. So let's go ahead and how it will work. Uh, you will never forget encapsulation now. I agree on that. And that's why I use analogies so that the concept would stick in your mind and you will never forget it. So let's see this thing. So same way like we were packaging some medical thing into the capsule, we would do encapsulation here. V means the system. System would take the data from application layer, put a header. Header is additional information. Like if you have written a letter to someone, this letter has to be put it into an envelope, and on that envelope you would add to and from information. That is a header you are putting on top of it. So same way, as soon as the data goes from application layer to presentation layer, they would be putting a header. Like if I have taken a DHL some for to send my letter, they would put a barcode on my letter so that they would track it. So that is the same thing, additional information, which is a header added to my data by presentation layer. And then my data would go to the session layer. Now, for session layer, this whole thing has become a data. And then they would add their own letter, right? So let's say DHL picked up the letter from me. They have added a barcode to scan it. And let's say this letter has to go to New York from London. Obviously, they won't send one letter. They would package it into a bigger box. And then inside that, there will be a lot of letters. This bigger box will be again packaged maybe into a bigger shipping container. And in that, there will be multiple boxes. So as you could see, your letter is there, but it is going through different layers of protection, shipped it, and then nobody will deliver a container to my destination. They would deliver the letter again. So it has to be opened, remove the things, and then get the letter at the destination and deliver it. That is the process of encapsulation and decapsulation. Very simple. So for every layer, the top layer is sending data or receiving data, and every layer adds its own header. Like you are applying for something and your application is going through multiple approval cycle, and every approver adds his or her own data on top of it. That is exactly what we are trying to do here. So every layer will keep on adding extra information, which is basically then making your packet larger, and through this you will be able to send information. Yes, payload per header and each layer. And one more thing here, that these layers are expected to communicate only to their peers. So transport layer will take data from session or forward data to session, but it won't directly talk to presentation or application. So everyone will talk to their just above or below layer, but not a random communication. So frames will come at later part. So what is happening here, that this data is being packaged and they use a different wording for that. Right. So the wording here, that this is all here data, and then it becomes your segment. Here it is called a segment. In a network layer, this one is called a packet, and on data link layer, that data is referred as a frame. So these are the three ways to identify that information. If somebody is saying segment, probably they are referring to a transport layer. If somebody is saying packet, which is the most commonly used word, we use that for network word. And when I'm saying frame, frame is mostly on a data link layer, which actually puts like a header and footer information both, and then it get translated. So that is how your data would go from one layer to the source to destination. And once it reaches to destination, what would happen? That package would keep on opening up. So physical layer got information from physical layer, it would remove the physical header information here, whatever it was been added, and then forward the remaining thing here. This layer will read information, remove its header, and keep on passing that data up to destination. So at the end, what will happen? Whatever you actually transferred would be reached to the destination, and every layer will add or subtract the header and then deliver the data to the destination. Right. So frames are on the data link layer. That package is referred as a frame. And then there is application layer, it is data. Transport layer, it is called segment. And the network layer, it is called packet. Right. Uh, all right. Move forward. Now, this was a theoretical model, and it was very good in terms of being understanding. But when they started implementing, they realized that hey, there are a lot of complication in implementation part. So they took the concept of it, but instead of your application, let's say you have interview process of Amazon, which goes through, let's say, 7 round of interview, which can be very complicated. So we say now, hey, let's go ahead and combine some of the things like this. So what happened here? The theoretical OSI model was taken, and its a practical implementation is what we all use, is called a TCP/IP model. And TCP/IP, the name is given because there are two prominent protocol. One of them is TCP and another is IP, and that's why this model is called TCP/IP. But there are more protocols working behind the scene to make your communication possible. So if I see this thing, my application presentation session layer work is squeezed into application layer of TCP/IP model. Transport layer work is still transport, and they renamed network layer to internet layer. And then data link and physical has become a network interface layer. So that's how your TCP/IP model is there. And this is the actual practical implementation. Right now, whatever we are communicating, this is all happening through TCP/IP. All the internet is where TCP/IP works. In early days, there were more protocols. Maybe I'm going into history now. IPX, SPX was one protocol that was by Novell. Then Apple had their Apple Talk as a protocol that was also there, but again didn't survive. Then we had Net Bias protocol from Microsoft, but they were not scalable enough as TCP/IP. So overall, what happened that these all faded away, and only prominent model we have is TCP/IP, and which is because there are main component. One is TCP and second is IP, allowing you to communicate, right? But there are more protocol. Let's say I'm using DNS, or I am using SMTP, or I am using SSH. So these are all operating on application layer, and then TCP/IP provide that kind of communication for it. All right, good. Let's move forward and let's see what else. So this communication happen, and we need some better ways to address the things. So we had to come up with a way where computers communicate. So let's talk about the binary choice. Binary is the 0 and 1. Now let's see why we had to come up with binary, to give you a basic idea. Now, we humans, we count in a decimal number system, right? We always count like, hey, I have to get this much of $10,000 to someone, or I want to get maybe $100 to someone, or maybe I want to buy 10 of the bananas, or I want to buy 1 kg of something. So we always talk in decimal system. Whatever numbers we make up, the base of those numbers is 10 digits, 0 to 9. These 10 digits helps me in making whatever you have created as a number. My question to you is, why humans have selected decimal as a number system? Why not 9 digits? Why not 7 digit? Why not 100 digits? Why we selected 10 as a digit number for our numbering system? Any random thoughts here? Why 10? Why not 11? Why not 9? You nailed it. You nailed it. Exactly. how we have learned numbering. We learned numbering on fingers, right? The simplest one. Yes, exactly. So we all count on numbers. We have 10 fingers, and that's why we have come up with a system, because we can count it on finger. How you learned all counting? Probably all counted on fingers, and then we have learned how to calculate things. So that's how things happen. Now, computer do not use this 10 finger. They do not have hands and fingers. So that will not work for them, right? So computer use binary. Binary is 1 or 0. So now my question is, why computer use binary? Why not something else? Sorry, why binary for computer? Why it makes sense for you them to use binary number system? Why binary? Yeah, humans on and off. Yes, exactly. Like a switch, electricity. Exactly. So a bulb can have a position like a on or off, right? Either there would be light or no light on that. Signals work like that, right? Then you may have a wire which may have current or not current, right? So that is again 1 or 0 kind of a situation. You may have a switch which may have on or off, and basically your electronic devices are all made up of these type of small simpler devices. But as we have so many of them compacted, it looks very complicated, but behind the scene everything is 1 and 0, and in our world 1 is on and 0 is off, and that's how a binary has become the way of delivering the content to the computer, and that's how we will utilize it. All right, I hope everyone is following along. Now let's give some more calculation bits here, bits and bytes. So when we are talking about bits here, the bits is basically made up of one single box. Either it would have a value of 0 or 1. Think like you build a box, and in that box either you could stuff 0 or you could stuff 1, but nothing beyond it. So that is a bit. A single addressable possible value is a bit. Now calculating bits by bits will be very complicated, and that's why we have combined them together into 8 bits, which is a byte, and that is which every box now can have 0 or 1 as a value, and there is a weightage of every value. Like, so when I'm saying I'm writing 55315, so I would read it 55,315, because this digit is 1, this is 10, this is 100, this is 1000, and this is 10,000. So our weightage is coming because of the 10 to the power, because this digit can have up to 10 values. So this is 10 to the power 0, this is 10 to the power 1, and this will be 10 to the power 4 similarly. In case of binary, the base is 2, so the value would be on based on 2's power. So this is my place value, and here I would be having a value of 2 to the power 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up to this 2 to the power 7 into 1 byte. And if you do the math here, this placeholder value will come out to be 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. That will be total making up the actual digits. So if I take this box and put the minimum value 0, so minimum number I could address in a byte is 0. Maximum number I could address will be 255, which will be made up of 128, 64, 32, and all these things. So that's how we represent the numbers in binary format. All right. I hope everyone is following along. I'll take 5 more minutes to give you an idea that how easily you can convert these. You won't need this calculation every day, but understanding this calculation will help you in your routing and switching logic. You would understand better that how routing actually works if you have this idea. Right. Let me go to one more analogy to explain that how easily you could convert these things in understand the format. Let's say we are talking about a startup. This is a company called BetterBox. There's a red and blue startup company, and red and blue, they invented a type of box which has become like very popular, whatever it is inside, and we should have a shop. They started a shop to sell it. Now Mr. Red is on the counter. He's taking the order. Blue is working in warehouse, and Blue keeps on bringing up the package. So if a customer comes and says, "Hey, I need 120 packages," then this blue person has to go 120 time to the warehouse and keep on bringing one box each time, and that is very, very complicated. Customer would come with different demands, and that would make the life of Mr. Blue a hell. So what we want a better approach for that. Is there a better way? Answer is yes. What Blue did, instead of bringing one box, he has created bigger boxes of these sizes. Should this be remembered for networking exam? Not directly. You do not see Is any exam going to ask your ABCD knowledge? Obviously, no. But if you do not know ABCD, would you be able to learn anything else? Answer is no there also. So we are talking here about very basics. And then once you have this sorted, it will help you to understand subnetting. It will help you to understand different routing aspects. So that is the same thing we are trying to do here. Just to bring everyone on the same page, it is not going to be asked in an exam. Nobody will ask you to convert binary and decimal. But when you are creating summary routes and maybe you are creating routing table entries, this knowledge would help you. So what Blue did, Blue has packaged all the stuff in this format that one box is 128 items, 128 box packed in 6432. And let's say now our order comes, hey, we need 40 boxes to be delivered. What Blue would do calculation to make 40 what I need 32 plus 8. So what I have to do now, I have to just take 2 boxes instead of taking 40 boxes one by one. And that made his life easier. Let's implement this thing into the actual world, how it would be working. Right. So that what I have just shown you is a IP address. So it's an IP address. What we have to do for every device to communicate, we have to have a unique identifier for them on the network, and that unique identifier is your IP address. Like we all use mobile, our mobile number is our unique identifier. No two mobile in the world can have same number because it has to be unique. And similarly, devices on a public network cannot have same IP address. I'm saying it here, public network. So I cannot have the same IP address on a public network for two different devices. So we will identify these devices by IP addresses. IP addresses are made up of 32 bits. And these 32 bits are divided like this, 8 bit, 8, 8, 8, and 8. And that would help you to create a number. If I put everything as a 0, the minimum number I would get will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And if I go to the maximum, it will be all 1. That will be 255, 255, 255 here. And that's why we are getting this information, right? So if I have to now, let's say, convert some things into binary, how I would do that? Let's say I have a decimal number here 40. I want it to convert to be binary. I will write down this 128 series at the top, and for 40 I have to take 32, and I have to take what else? I have to take 8. So I would keep everything else as 0, but only keep 1 on the digit I want to keep, and that would be the equivalent of binary number for 40. This is what my binary number is, right? So that is the first number. I want 128 to be identified. What I would do in that case, first number 128, remaining nothing required. So I will keep all zeros, and that would bring up to my 128. And similarly, if I have to keep 19, I would take 16, 2 and 1. Only those bits will be set as 1, and remaining else would be all zeros. And that's how I would keep on identifying different aspect of my application. Right. So hopefully this was easy and you understood a little bit of information here, just very basics. And we will then go ahead and talk about more interesting stuff on networking. Let me quickly show you that what we have planned. And this is a tentative agenda. We are open for suggestions. If you have something which we can bring it here to improve your information, let us know, right? So we talked about cloud today. We talked about IP addressing, and then we will talk about activity in a minute. Next week, I'll talk about S3. We'll get introduced to VPC and then EC2 and then activities and all. So this is the agenda. This is on the website. You could go ahead, and as I'm here, if you see this additional resources link here on the very left, if you click on that, it will tell you the last session's resources. Like we did 2 sessions so far. One was in 2022 in May and then September. So these are all listed here. And if I, let's say, go inside, you would find what was the recording link, technical track information, PDF of that, additional resources which we want you to choose. So that will all be posted in a week's time here. Obviously, we do this thing in our private time. So please bear in mind that we do not have any SLA. Everything is voluntarily basis. Everyone helps behind the scene based on the time they get. So it may not be on the very next day. It may take little time, but yeah, recording would be available on Twitch for the same week. And afterward, it would be then available on YouTube. All right. So I hope everyone has enjoyed. Let us know if there are any feedback, anything which we can do to help you better. And if you like this training, if you learned something new, have you clicked something and you learned something first time, probably share this information on LinkedIn so that more people would be aware and more people would know how we can learn things easily. Technology doesn't need to be complicated. Technology can be explained in simpler fashion, and that is what we are trying to do here, right? So anything which you liked, take a screenshot from the Twitch afterwards, put it on LinkedIn, tag us, tag BESA program, so that everyone would know that how we can get started and how cloud journey can be easy, not should be complicated. All right. So thanks everyone. I hope I have not bored you and you have learned something new. Now I would add Prasad to stream, and here he would talk about some of the hands-on activities so that you would also understand how these things can be implemented. So let's go ahead and hear from Prasad. Prasad, you would like to share screen?
Yeah, I would share the screen. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Ashish. As always, I keep learning from you. And even if there are things that, that I know before, but in the manner you explain it, it helps me to not only grasp, but I know that in case if I am explaining anyone, what terms and terminologies I can use to explain them. So it makes things really easy, crystal clear, as someone mentioned in the chat. So thank you for that. Let me present my screen. I do not have dual screen today, so I'll be doing a lot of all tabs, but hopefully it should be fine. Share screen. And I'll share the entire screen. Hold on. Cool. So
all right,
I'll be
let
talking
me
today
add
about
this now. Yeah, it is there.
Yep. Let me talk today about the 5 things to do after creating your first AWS account. Now, I'm hoping that almost all of you have AWS account. Anyone who does not have AWS account? I will not be able to look into the chat. Hold on. Let me see if I can look into the chat also. Yeah, I think I can look into the chat. Okay, guys, if you do not have AWS account, then the thing that you should be doing is create AWS free tier account. AWS free tier account. Just simply sign up for it. It does ask for a credit card. And today we'll talk about how you can ensure that, you do not pay anything on your free tier account. It does have the free tier details is it's very generous. You can learn AWS without, spending a dime. When I say dime, not even a single penny, it's almost zero cost, unless you are using something that is out of the free tier, and we'll mention when it will be costing you when you'll be doing few exercises. But yes, please feel free to if you are thinking about learning cloud, mandatory is that go and create your free tier account. And as you can see in the free tier, you can have Amazon EC2, which is I'll let Ashish describe Amazon EC2 when he will do it in a nice manner, because he uses great analogies, but it's just a server on the cloud, a virtual machine. And then you'll have, for your storage, for your database needs, you'll have a lot of hours, free for yourself so that you can learn. So that's the first thing. And once you create your first free tier account, there are few things that you can do actually to secure your account. I would say these are must things to do that you should be doing. Okay, anyone who has account and still using, the root account, have you enabled the MFA on your root account? Will be my question. Is there anyone who has not enabled root account? And I'm doing back and forth. Okay, let me stop looking to the comments, and I'll simply, I'll look into the presentation. So enabling MFA on your root account is really important, because the root account is the god of your account. He'll have access to each and everything that can be done on the account. So it is better to actually secure it by enabling the MFA. And let's see how we can do that. So when you first time log in into your console, you will not be obviously having this recently visited. This is, as you start visiting it, you'll be having that. But this is how AWS console would look like, right? So what you should be doing is that from here, go to your security credentials. And then now I am logged in this as a root account. And it says that my security credentials root user and MFA is not activated for root user. It is giving me a big, like a warning sign. So let's do that. Let's assign a MFA, and it is really important for your root account. And in fact, for your every credentials, you should be, unless it's just a programmatic credentials, it's not a user credential, you should be having MFA enabled. So assign MFA device, and I would say this is like, okay, there are multiple ways you can do. You can do it virtually through an authenticator app, or you can have a physical one, like, a security key or a hardware top. I'm going to have the virtual one. I'm thinking the authenticator app, so it is there on my mobile. I'm going to click on next, and it is giving me, like how to set it up. So here I can show the QR code, and then let me do that. Let me open my authenticator app on my mobile, and I'm going to show the QR code. And then I'm going to set it up. I'm not going to do it because then, yeah, all of you will be able to see the screen. So I'm going to skip that. But that's one thing that you should be doing. Just do that. Add the MFA codes through your authenticator app. And then you will be able to add MFA. And then your root account is secured through the MFA. So next time, or anyone who tries to log in through the root account, they'll be having MFA added. Now, then you need to secure your root account, means you need to ensure that your credentials, are safe. Now, there is a possibility that, you lose, you forget about the MFA, or you lose the mobile that you have MFA. So, I'll let Jamila speak about that. Jamila, would you like to come on the screen and talk about a customer experience that you had who actually lost MFA?
Thank you, Prasad. Yeah, definitely. Like before the session, we were talking together about the customer experience I had at work. So basically, when you create the root account, as Prasad already mentioned, you put there your mobile information details and how you are going to actually use the MFA to access the root account. So what happens usually, not usually, but what might happen is that in the company, let's say the person X is responsible for that root account, and one day that person decides to leave, or for whatsoever reason that person could be fired, and in that case his or her access will be disabled automatically, because everything belongs to the corporate, to the place that he or she is working. So once it happened on one of my customer sides, the person actually lost the access to everything, including the mobile phone, which means the rest of the people, the rest of the team who will need to access to the root account were not able to access, because the user who had access to MFA is not with them anymore, either left or something happened. So for that, they, of course, they approached us how to get it done, how to get it fixed. And I will not dive deep into details of the process. Of course, it's pretty confidential. I will just tell you on a high overview that it's very, very complicated and very sensitive topic in terms of security. So it's very sensitive in terms of how to fix this issue at AWS, because we are not responsible and we cannot go into a customer's account, just grant the access to the root account to the user, regardless of the position of that person who is asking to have access to the root. So bear in mind that once and when you're creating your root user, you must have, it's a must that like a process in place, like a documentation that, okay, this person has access to the root account, and you better not piss off that user, basically. And just keep in mind that that person, if that person leaves, or as I told my another customer, that what happens if that person dies or has an accident? What's going to happen? Do you have some process in place? So definitely keep in mind what you're going to do as a plan B if something happens. For example, when I was before joining AWS, I was also having an account, AWS account, building projects, testing some of the services. And then one day I decided to change my phone. And in my previous phone, I had some specific authenticator where the code is kind of changing. And then when I moved to the new phone, I kind of forgot about it, and I couldn't access actually my root account because I changed the phone and things left it on the previous phone, and I didn't know what to do, how to do it. So needless to say, I called AWS immediately that this is what happened. So they were able to remove the MFA access from my root account just because I was the owner. So I created the root account, I was the owner, and I explained that all the information left in my previous phone, but my mobile number was the same. So mobile number, my ID, and the reason that I created it, I was able to ask the employee who was assisting me at AWS to remove the MFA from my root account. And then before I joined AWS, I was thinking, never ever again I will put MFA, because what if my phone gets lost? And I didn't know, of course, other kind of options, how to securely have a process in place for MFA. But please bear in mind, when you're creating it, you need to be careful who is having an access, what kind of access are you having, and what if something happens, what you're going to do. Because if that's someone else in your company, make sure that when that person is leaving, he or she is handling everything properly, including, and number one, including the root user and the MFA. So you don't chase us, we don't chase you to kind of remove the MFA. So this is an important point, and thank you, Prasad, for bringing me into the stage to share the painful experience that lots of people might go through without actually knowing it.
No, thank you so much for sharing this. And this is such an important topic, like security, like securing your account, and especially the root account. I'm reading into a few of the comments, like I'll answer a few of those while showing the demos. Is that yes, we should not be doing anything in the root account. It's very sensitive. Always create accounts. So that brings it to the second. Let me start my screen share again. And then go to the slide. That brings us to the second topic, is that anything that you would like to do is that create an administrator account and sign in with an administrator account and do with that account your activities. So let's try and do that. So whoever has created a fresh account and has not stopped using root account, please stop doing that and create a new user with administrative privileges. Now, how to do that? Create a group. You can always create a user and attach an administrator policy directly, but it's better to create a group so that you can and attach the administrator policy to the group and then assign the user to the group. So user group, and what add users. I do not have a user at this point. Attach policy. I'm going to attach administrator access. I'm going to attach the full privileges to this person. Can anyone tell me which other, access I should be providing along with the administrator access? I'm going to create group with this right now. Oops, space. But there is ideally one other policy that I should be attaching. I cannot look into the chat. Let me see if I can. I don't know how to do back and forth and looking into the chat window because I do not have the second video today. But yeah, if you know, then do type it in the chat. And once I have this group, what I'll do is that I'll create a user, admin. Now here, enable console access. Now this is again, like depending upon whether the particular user would be using CLI or not, and will be using only console or not. It depends. So this one will be using the console. So I'm going to use the console. I'm going to use a custom password. And because I'm using my own custom password and I'll be the one logging in, so I'll uncheck this box that users must create a new password at next sign in. So in case if you're providing anyone else this access, then ensure that you have this so that the user can set their own password. And for the programmatic access, you can generate access keys after you create the user. So that is mainly, we'll talk about it in a moment. Click on next. Now, you can provide the permissions either by attaching the policies directly or copying the permission from some other user or adding user to the group. Now, we already have a group with administrator access. So I'm going to just add that so that now this user would be having the permissions of what the group has, and I'll create a user. Again, very basic stuff, but it's important that you do it by creating an administrator access. Now go to the show user, return to user list. You haven't, so yeah, yep, cool. Now I have a user. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sign out from here. So that's the one thing. Like before doing anything, when you create an account, as soon as you log in, go to your security credentials, create a new user, enable the MFA on your root account so that it is, secure. Create administrator user and then log back in with the administrator user. Now, when you log in, it provides two options. Either do it via root user or IAM user. So I'm going to do it via IAM user now. Now for that, you need to have the account ID, or the account alias. I'll show you how you can create account alias if you want to create account alias, but this is my account ID. Now the username is admin and correct. Yeah. Now I am in now my account using the admin user. So I'm not using my root account. Now with this, you'll be having almost, like everything to do except one thing, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, that's the second thing that we have done. Now, the third thing is familiarize yourself with AWS Management Console. Obviously, you can do that with your root account, but again, first secure it and do all of the things from your admin account. Now, when I say familiarize, there are many things here, like first of all the services, right? So here you can click here, view all services, and then you'll be able to see all the services. And as you know, AWS is famous for more and more services because we keep innovating at a very fast pace and provide, what's best for our customers. You can always go to here as services and then browse from here. Or if you know which service you are looking for, then you can type it here and it will be showing you those resources, services accordingly. Now, one thing that you should be thinking about is the region. Now, as Ashish mentioned, we do have multiple regions and we create or provision resources in regions. So ensure that you are in the right region, in whichever region you would like to do your work, right? And there will be few regions which are not enabled. You can enable those regions if you would like. You can go to manage regions and you can enable those regions if you would like. But by default, they'll be having few regions which will be more than enough for you to start working with. Now, let's say if you provision any EC2 or like a S3 bucket, then you'll be doing it in a specific region. Now, when you log in, if you don't go into the same region in which you have provisioned them, you will not be able to see them. There's a way to do that. I'll talk about it in a moment. So yeah, let's talk about that only. So if I go to EC2, then let's say right now I do not have anything provisioned. It will show me blank. But let's say if it was there in some other region, let's say London region, then I'll not be able to see it if I'm in some other region. Now, but there is a way to do that. Now, focus search. Anyone aware of this focus search? That's one thing that if you're not aware of, go and have a read, but then you can go to the resources. Now, let's say if I focus on resources and I click here, resources. Now here in the resources, hold on, let me close this. Let me go back here to the original, and then let me again do this. Focus search. Now, let's say if I do resources here, it will show me resources here. Go here in the resources and go and read about this Resource Explorer if you have not done it already. Now, Resource Explorer is going to help you efficiently search for and discover your resources across AWS regions, right? And it talks about how it works. You need to first set it up. So you need to first go to and set it up. And once you set it up, and then you will be able to do that. And then there is a way to use tagging and stuff to track your resources. Cool. That's, like just to familiarize. Now, one thing other is that you can obviously kind of customize your home view. There is add widgets. Now, if you see your home view, there is a recently visited, then we have welcome to AWS, AWS health, cost and usage, so on and so forth. Now you can customize this. For example, you can add widgets. And let's say I want to add widgets about the favorites. I click on favorites and I click on add. It says that added the widgets. You can find it at the bottom of the console. I want to always see the favorites at the top. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hold this. I'm going to bring it up. Oh, come on, close this. And then I'm going to bring this up to the top. So this is my favorites. I do not have any favorite services. How can I do that? Okay, I'll go here. Let's say there's an EC2 here. So, or I can, if I search EC2 and I'm using EC2, then I can always mark it as favorite. Let's say other one would be IAM. I'll mark it as favorite. If you work a lot with databases, you go to RDS. It's up to you, whichever. And then you will be having your favorites. So whenever you would be coming into your console home, you'll be having your favorites in front of you. So you can customize your console home. Feel free to reset it if you don't like it and then start again. Okay, that was mainly a quick upon how you can familiarize yourself. And there is a link here, working with console. It gives you more in depth about how you can work with your console. Let's move on to the next one. Create a password policy. Now this is a good one. Now, okay, let's read through this first of all. I created a password right now when creating a user. Now, I did not provide any password policy yet. So the default password policy that kicks in is that it should be minimum 8 characters and maximum of this. Minimum of these kind of mix should be there. It should not be identical to AWS account name or alias, and never expire password. So password does not expire. So, but say if you want to have a rotation, like you want password to expire every 30 days, how would you do that? Now you have your favorite IAM. Go to your IAM, and again we do have a full session on IAM that Ashish will go into the basics. I'm not going to go into the basics right now. I'm going to just set a few things. Now see, it does tell me all the recommendations that my MFA root user, MFA is not enabled on root user. For this particular, it's not enabled. Your admin does not have any active access keys, which is good. So it does give you a glimpse about these, what you think should be doing so that your account is secure. Now here, there should be somewhere the password policy. Hold on, where is it? Oh. Okay, account alias. In case if you want to create account alias, okay, why do you need account alias? Because when you log in, you always need to remember this account ID. right? Or even for the URL, there is a sign-in URL that you want. So you can use, instead of account ID, if you want to create an account alias, that you can do that here quickly, right? And for the password, let's go to the user. And the user, I am not able to remember where does the security credentials.
Prasad, can you check into the account setting on the left side?
Oh, yes, you're right. In the settings, right?
No, not this one. In the IAM console itself, if you see user groups roles in the below, there is a account setting below identity provider. Yeah, here.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Thank you, Ashish.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. So here it is, account policy. Now you can click on edit here, and then this is the IAM default that is there. But if you want to create custom, then you can create custom, select which one you would like. And in case if you want to turn on password rotation, you can tell that you need to expire it in every 30 days so that you ensure that you're keeping your account secure. By default, the turn on password expiration is not there. If you go to IAM default, it's never expire password. So that's another thing. Now, I know we are up on time, but there is one thing that I would like to definitely cover, which is configuring the AWS budget actions. Now, if you are creating your free tier account, then you would be worried about that, the bill should not come, right? And how we can do that. Now, for that, I'll go and I'm going to billing dashboard. Now, this is where it will say that I do not have the access to it. Oh, okay, I do have access to it because I would have enabled that. Now, here, there are two things you need to do to, enable this. And it is mentioned here in this link here in the budget actions. And it's a full tutorial about how you should be doing that. But once you are here, what you should be doing is go to your budgets. Now, has anyone, I know few of you might have created a billing alert and budget actions, but has anyone used user template? Now we have new templates, that is zero spend budget. It automatically creates your budget with an action to zero spend. All you have to do is simply say that which email, this is my email, so I'm going to do that, and then just create budget. Now we created a budget so that as soon as it reaches this, it's going to tell me. So we have tried to make it simplify, right? So if I click on edit here and I want to edit it, I can always do that. Or let's do one thing. Let's create a new budget. Or instead of using a template, there are multiple templates, monthly cost budget, and so on and so forth that you want to use. We can create a custom budget, and I'll use a cost budget to create one. Now, again, you have the data about how you can set up your budget and stuff and the cost data preview. Then monthly budget or a daily budget or a quarterly budget that you would like. And it shows the recurring budget, start month, budgeting method, whether it's a fixed or the planned one or auto adjusting, like, every month is going to adjust based on the usage of pattern. Budget amount, let's say I'm going to keep it as 10. That's the max I would like to spend. And the scope, you want to know the spend of all the services or a specific services that you want to see that, my compute should not go beyond this. And then there is some advanced options about the tax and stuff you can use. Click on next. Now the budget alerts, how the alert is going to work. Now you can add an alert threshold. Now alert threshold would be that, let's say 80% of my threshold has reached, whether it is actual or forecasted, you can create. So even if it is forecasted, if you want to know that before it reaches 80%, I should be knowing it as soon as like it gets forecasted. Click on that. Again, give your email ID. And then you can add more alerts if you would like, even an SNS alert or a chatbot alert in case if you want to integrate with your Slack or something or Chime, you can always do that. Click on next. Oops. Okay. Click on next. You can always review it. And then create the budget. So this will help you actually to stay on top of your, a budget or any spend that you're going to do. But I love this, like templates. So go ahead and feel free to use this free template so that you get to know that you're not spending anything at all while you're using the free tier account. Or at least you will get to, you'll get a notification as soon as it might be that you might spend $1. That's pretty much, I know we are 5 minutes ahead time, but this is like, the 5 things that you should be doing. One other thing that you should be doing definitely is configuring your AWS CLI. And this, I'll let you guys do it. And if you have not already done it, here is the link that how you can do it. And going ahead in the activities that we'll be doing it mainly through a console to show it, but a lot of things will be required to be done via CLI. And Ashish is great at showing the demos while doing the CLIs. So while even, he'll be covering a lot of topics, he will be doing it via CLI. So ensure that you do configure your CLI. That's pretty much that I had to show. Now let me stop my screen share, go to the chat and see if there is any questions.
Thank you, Prasad. It was interesting. And these are like very, very first step which everyone should take care for their account. Know what may, like whatever you are using for production, personal use, or maybe for your any pet project, please do these 5 things to be on top of the things. You should not be reactive. You should be proactive when it comes to account security. So always follow these best practices. And there are a lot of templates available which you could use, like Prasad has shown you. And there are documentation too, like say these 5 things are the important one, or 10 things you should do. So we would put them into resource section and you will have a better idea on how all these things work. Questions pretty much addressed. There was a question on, will a user have access to one region only? I would say it depends on the policy you assign to him or her. You could say, hey, I want to give everything, or you could say, hey, I want to give you only Ireland access because you are only allowed to access that. So that can all happen. All right.
It's a very granular level thing that you can control through the
Exactly.
IAM. We'll cover that topic in the IAM section.
We will talk about that.
Granular you can go,
Exactly. Okay. So I hope everyone has enjoyed and learned something new. And we will quickly add everyone into the stream in our team so that we can thank you. And probably if you have any feedback, any request which we can do differently, agenda is live on the sessions. And if you feel that we should change it or we should add something else on top of it, let us know and we will try to address as much as we can. So we want to help you, but help us to help you. Give us feedback so that we can improve on the things. And if you like something, put a shout out on LinkedIn, reach out to us on LinkedIn. This will also help you to build your own network for own world. So that would be much, much easier for you. So I appreciate everyone. Any last word, anyone? Jamila, Prasad, Abhijit, James?
I generally say that, learn in public, even if you're setting up your first AWS account, share on LinkedIn that these are things that you have done to secure your account. These are the best practices that you are following. And that will help you, not only build your own confidence, but it will help you to actually, find that network which is there on the LinkedIn who would be, communicating with you. And then down the line, it will be helpful, believe me.
Good, thank you. All right, so we will end broadcast today. It was really a pleasure to have you all. Thank you for your time. And any suggestion, let us know. If you liked, share it on LinkedIn, share within your network so more people can get benefited. And if you have anything which we can help you personally, reach out to on LinkedIn. We may not respond to everything that very moment, but yes, we would try to help as many people as we can. So enjoy the week, and the videos would be available for the Twitch for 1 week, and later it would be made available on YouTube. And we will see you all next week. Have a good week. Thank you. Bye.